So my name is Eva. I don't play games. I read books. I don't create games. I write stories and poems. And today I'm here because of this little guy. Could you? Thank you. It's a very cute little cool guy. Choosatron. It's a machine for interactive storytelling. It was inspired by Choose Your Own Adventure format. It's a story printer that is using both the digital and analog storytelling. I saw it first time last year at the Isle of Games, and I got really excited and very greedy to use it, and I was there all the time. Mostly, I think now, it was so stimulating for me as a person who writes to see something being printed at hand. For writers' ego, it's just like, oh, it's getting printed already. And I just started to play with it. I also immediately called my friend, she's a writer, Elena from Macedonia, who lives in Iceland, because for some time she was telling me about her idea about creating a machine that could print stories in which reader could choose some elements of a narration or the plot. And she has no interest in games as well, and no background in games. When I was asked to create a game for this edition of Isle of Games, I immediately said yes. And to be able to create a game, I was introduced to Twine. It's an open source tool for non-linear storytelling. It turned out to be very easy and very user-friendly. There is also a rich guidebook for it. There is Twine Wiki, which explains everything. So for me, after one day, I was ready just to create as many games I wanted. Another slide. Yeah, basically, you just get a board on which you create little sections of text that are somehow connected with each other, and then you decide how to connect them. You decide the narration, and the reader or the player either choose options or is just guided by you through the path of your narration. So I didn't know anything about creating the games. I didn't know the software. Can we change the slide? It's PDF, so maybe that's the problem. But I knew very well what author's block is. And it's the moment when you need to start and you don't know if you're good enough, if it's gonna work well. And because I have no experience in games or had no interest in games before, I got quite anxious. And then I thought about two of my friends. Can we change the slide? And first one is Helen, who is a writer. She is Venezuelan, living in Reykjavik as well. She just published a book for kids. And she also happens to be a passionate board game player. She also collects games, and she designs games. She just some time ago, she made a board game called A Collector, or The Collector, and she was so inspired by the universe she created for a board game that she wrote a book about this universe called Tales of Hildur. So I thought of her to give myself a bit courage to write about it. But the second person that I would like to introduce you to is Martin, who is a copywriter, a writer from Netherlands, and he's currently staying in Reykjavik as well. He's super funny, super smart, super sharp, so it felt like a big opposition to me. For 7 years, he was designing advertisements for companies. He is a master of Cards Against Humanity, which I'm always the loser in the game. He is also an author of, how he calls it, an awkward autobiographical fan fiction, which he turned into a book. So I invited him immediately to join us and write a game as well. So his game is on Choosatron downstairs as well, available. And I kind of did it because I was so anxious to start my games that I thought at least he will do the job. Long story short, I created 2 games. I was mostly excited about using the Twine as a writing tool. I was so on fire with it that I was creating just many games, starting new subjects, that I didn't really notice that I created 2 games connected with spirituality and psychology, which is my interest, but I would not give it for my first game just to represent my interest. It's quite personal. So the first game is called Getting Eckhart on a Date. And it's about inviting a spiritual teacher, Eckhart, on a date. And it uses kind of the phenomenon of Tinder or dating app conversation. And the second game is inviting you to experience a very specific therapeutic self-care method. So this is very random choice of the subject. I only did it because it worked as a narration for me, so I just wanted to go with it and check how Twine is working for me. I think it was a good experiment, and this is exactly what Jon and Yowie were talking about, like inviting people from outside of this industry or this discipline. And I think I was a perfect lab rat because, yeah, as I mentioned, I don't play games. I don't even read comics. I'm not watching many shows. I'm this very romantic kind of idea of a writing person, over-analyzing, very sensitive. I usually follow a gut feeling or emotion or observation that I make, and then I don't know what does it mean. I need to know what does it mean, so I write. Usually when I'm starting to write, I don't know what is it about, and somewhere halfway there or at the end, I'm very surprised what came out. So I think that was a very interesting mix, and for me, the biggest outcome of it was that I noticed something about myself as a writer, is that, and I call it for myself, a lonely lighthouse keeper, is that in my writing routine, I never think of a reader. I'm so into my writing, I'm so into my vision and my kind of idea, and I do it because it's fun for me, and I hope I'm doing my best job. Like this lonely lighthouse keeper. I'm really serious about what I'm doing, and I'm hoping I'm doing the best job, but I don't really think if the reader is interested in it. And I think that's very powerful in arts and in writing, but through this game writing experience, I could finally connect with the reader/player. I could think, is a person going to get boring at this moment or not? You know, are they going to have enough of stimulation? Are they going to be even thinking, like, should I have always a quit option in my game if the game is not good? So first time in my life experience thinking so much about the receiver of my writing. And that was a very teaching experience. And I asked Martin, who also wrote a game for the first time, but with very different talent and experience for text. And he said a similar thing, that for him it was a mirror. He learned about himself as an author because he noticed how he's always very playful with the reader, with his audience. He likes to tease, he likes to give something and take it away from them. So I think it's a beautiful tool for authors even if they are not into gaming, just to check yourself and try it on. And just back to the Choosatron and Twine, I'm still very excited to use it, and I have more ideas how could I use it. I'm interested in correlation of storytelling in general and interactive tools. For example, like poetry, probably there was already who was trying it, but can we try to create an interactive poem or interactive love letter? Or can we play with new words? Can we create new words through interaction like this? Or can we play with the history of words, etymology with it? So I'm really interested in it, and I'm going to explore further. And also another field of that subject that's very interesting for me is how, like, extremities of control of the author over the narration and extremities of freedom of the reader or the player here. So yeah, I loved it. Thank you.